Okay, that's going. Still okay? No problems? Yep, okay, good. All right, and now let's try the final piece of the puzzle. Let's see if I'm able to play my new video or not. Okay, I'm going to try to see if I can play my new intro video, and then let's see if that maybe causes a problem. All right? Let's find out together. It's an adventure. All right, share screen. Because all I'm doing is sharing my screen. It shouldn't be a problem. Window. Here we go. And... oh, except now I can't see anything. What is going on? This is comically bad. I couldn't see anything on my screen. It just was all black. Let me try again. There we go. Now I see it. Okay, and let's give it a shot.
Questions flying left and right. Grammar rules we must uncover. Making sure we get them right.
Just a quick 2-minute video.
With each word we come to know. Every noun and every verb here helps our confidence to grow. English Q&A session. Learning words and how they blend. Pronunciation confession. In this class we comprehend.
Oh, you can't hear the music. Yes, there should be music. You can't hear it? Ah. Can anything go right for me today? Oh, this is just terrible. That was the whole point. Let me see if maybe this will work. Let's try one more time. This is so bad. Let me share screen in a different way and see if that makes a difference. How about this? Are you able to hear this? Can you hear that now? Is there music? Is there sound? No? Still no? Unbelievable. Ah, I don't know what to do. Hello, Talk. Why do you do this to me? How about now? One last time. F11. Share. F11. Full screen. How about now? Can you hear it now? Yes? Ah, thank God.
Questions flying left and right. Grammar rules we must uncover. Making sure we get them right. Vocabulary's growing larger.
Ooh, except the sound is weird.
Every noun and every verb here helps our confidence
my schedule. If you guys want my schedule, you can take a picture.
What you got then understood. Culture colors every sentence. We speak more than just the words. Through these lessons, we gain presence with the language we all heard. English Q&A session, learning words and how they blend. Pronunciation confession. In this class we comprehend.
Okay, yeah. Well, it almost worked. Yeah, okay. So I'm glad somebody told me that the sound there was weird. It wasn't the whole time though, right? It just came in and out. This weird, echoey, ringing, right? Feedback, right? Did you hear that? Is that what you were hearing? F11 and gone and stop. Yeah, it came in and out. Yeah, again, that's a Hello Talk thing. That's not me. The video does not have that in the music. Almost. This is really not fun for me, though. This is really not fun for me. I spend all my time trying to make sure everything works great, and then I get here and... yeah. Well, I'm. The video sounds great if you don't hear all that feedback. So yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, welcome to English Q&A session. The comically bad, glitchy live stream. So, I'm ready to take your questions now. That's right. Fail and fail often. Yeah, and laugh through the pain. That's right. Ayub, you're not new here. I've seen you many times. Hello, it's Zoe, right? I think I remember your name was Zoe. O.O. The sound wakes up the sleeping brain. Hello, Gunter. Hello, Belen. Yeah, I don't know what the problem was with that sound. There are just some really weird glitches. You know, let me teach you an English idiom about that. When you have problems with your computer and you don't know why and you can't figure it out, we call that the ghost in the machine. The ghost in the machine. So apparently Hello Talk has a lot of ghosts in their machines. Yeah. Yes, I do private lessons. You can go to my website. If you go here, you can follow me. You can follow everything. Follow my website, follow my YouTube, follow my podcast, follow my anything that I've got. It's all right there. Okay? Hello, Miriam. I'm doing okay. I'd be doing better if there weren't just so many problems with Hello Talk. And I know why. I know what it is. If I were using my phone to do my live streams, then I probably wouldn't have any of these problems. But I don't. I use my computer and all this expensive equipment to try to have a better live stream. But because Hello Talk is not really designed for it, and not many people use their computers to do the live streams, and I think they really just don't really want to spend a lot of time on it. I mean, I hate to say that, but I think that's the case. I think that, yeah, I don't like using my phone to do my live streams. It's too darn small. It's too darn small. No. And, people on most apps don't use, most professional live streamers use a computer to do it, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It's so stinking hard because of the glitches, you mean, Steph? Hello, Mona. And yes, Sahad, I have a podcast now, too. Again, guys, go here and you'll see everything. You'll see all of my links if you go to my link tree. Okay? ASN. Oh, you know what? I think I did see your message and I just didn't get a chance to reply yet. Yeah, so I will try to reply to you later today, okay? I'm sorry about that. Send me another message just to make sure that I see it, okay, ASN? Because I get a lot of messages and sometimes they get lost, okay? Yeah. Thank you. What are the phrasal verbs that I use mostly when I speak? Shaki, it's different for every person, really. It's different for every person. Phrasal verbs are something that are definitely tricky. The biggest tip that I can give you about learning phrasal verbs is to learn them in groups, meaning learn all the phrasal verbs that have the letters or the word get in them. Get in, get on, get out, get through, get over. Try learning all the ones that have the word get in it, and then try learning all the ones that have the word go, and then try learning all the ones that, right? Do them in groups that way, okay? Hello Talk isn't able to hire good engineers to make it comfortable. I wish that I didn't. I mean, there are a couple people who I talk to who really they seem to be very helpful to me. They really want to help me. They talk to me about things. But the truth is it is a little frustrating because I don't really understand why it's this difficult. This is something that many apps do, right? Many apps do live streaming. And it's kind of hard. I'm not a computer guy, but it's kind of hard for me to understand why they're having so many problems doing something that seems to be rather basic anymore. So, yeah. Yeah, Sugar Camp is my rock band. Yeah. You can check it out if you want to. If you like indie rock, it's not pop rock. It's not for everybody. But they're a bunch of my best friends, and we've been playing together for I don't know how long. 25 years? More than 25 years, I think. Yeah. Indie rock is so relaxing. Well, that depends on the indie rock. That's the thing about indie rock. Indie rock is a description that's kind of broad, it depends on the indie rock. Some indie rock is relaxing. Some is very jarring. So, okay. So I'm ready to take some questions again. And Ruslan. Hello, Ruslan. Yeah. Let's see. Hello, Durga. Hello, Talk made some improvements in the app recently. Very strange. Yes, Q&A session means you can ask questions. That's right. So let's suppose you get in touch with someone for the first time. What trick would you personally use to make him talk to you later? Let's see. Question is asked in the context of saying initial connection with the HR recruiter and then developing it for some time. Ruslan, that is a tricky question. There is nothing to guarantee it. you know, Ruslan, in most of those cases, when you're contacting an HR professional about a job, the standard procedure is to send them your mail, send them your email, send them your letter, and then follow up in about 2 weeks, a week to 2 weeks, right? So if you haven't heard anything from them, then follow up with just a very short follow-up email saying, hello, you know, this is Ruslan. You know, I'm just following up with my, you know, letter of employment, or, you know, seeking employment, or I was just wondering if you had a chance to look over my resume yet. I look forward to hearing back from you soon. Something like that. It's kind of standard to just, you know, if you haven't heard anything, then to message them again. But there are not too many real tricks to that I know of, you know, and it also depends on the company, because some companies do a lot of that stuff by AI anymore, and there's not even a person involved. You know, the initial look of all the resumes just goes through a computer first, and then the computer picks out the ones that they think they should talk to based on whatever algorithm they programmed. Okay, Ruslan? Thank you, Leo. Hello, Omed. Hello, Manpreet. Hello, Mohammed. Hello, Nora. You're so glad I solved the problem. Now my technology is giving me a human error. I need to charge my phone. Well, that happens. Okay, we'll see you later, Steph. And yeah, so far it seems like things are okay, I think. What is the correct structure of English statements or sentences that contain subject, verb, object, adverb, adjective, preposition, etc.? Omar, it depends on the sentence that you're trying to create. There is more than one way to structure a sentence depending on what you're trying to say. Is it a statement? Is it a question? Are you using only subject, verb, and object? Or are you using subject, verb, object, adjective, or preposition? You know, so if I said, let me think of a good example. You need a page about sentence diagramming, Omar. You need some worksheets and pages that teach you about sentence diagramming, okay? I might even have that on my screen here somewhere. Let me see. Oh, yeah, right here. Here's what you need to learn how to do. It's called diagramming sentences, Omar. So check out this page here. Okay. So this is just subject and verb, right? And then prepositional phrases. Okay. But then you can add to that. You know, you can add the boys run in fields, or ants live. Let's see. If you said boys run quickly in fields, then quickly would be the adverb that you're adding to that, right? And boys is the subject, run is the verb, and fields, in fields would be the what we call the object preposition, prepositional object. Okay? So boys run quickly in big fields. Big would be the adjective, right? So that's what you need to do, is you need to get some sentence diagramming worksheets and pages to explain that to you. Okay? Is that a Rolex on my watch? No, on my wrist? No. This watch cost me about $30 US. I don't believe in expensive watches. I actually don't really like watches at all, to be honest with you. I'm not a watch guy. I got this one recently. It was cheap. It looks nice. You know, you think it's a Rolex. It's not. It's just a cheap watch. That's why watches are so stupid. If you need the time, it's right there on your phone. You know, and I'm not trying to make people think I'm rich. It's a cheap watch. You too can have this cheap watch. Do American people say I'm bewildered? Yeah, sure. Yeah, you know, it's a little bit more formal than saying I'm confused. But if you're very confused, then you might say I'm bewildered. Or if you're trying to sound a little bit more formal, then you can say I'm bewildered. Hello, Carolina. Thank you, Carolina. What is my advice for improving speaking skill? Well, that depends on what your problems are with speaking skill. Is it confidence? Is it pronunciation? Is it vocabulary? What exactly is your problem with it? And I'm going to get somebody up on the stage to talk with me in just a second. Hello, Islam. Manpreet says, I can understand English very well, but I can't speak at length. I badly need a band 8 in the IELTS. What do I do? Well, Manpreet, understanding English is one thing, but being able to speak it is another. You need to spend a lot more time thinking in English. Starting tomorrow, you need to start using English in your mind for almost everything you do in your life. And if you can't, then you need to figure out how to, right? So if you don't know how to think about that thing using English, then you better start figuring out how. Because the only way you're going to get an IELTS 8 is if you're able to practice your English constantly as much as you possibly can. And you can't do that by speaking all the time, so you have to do it with thinking, okay? And then you're going to need to get some good IELTS study books, and you're going to have to study your bum off. Okay, yeah. The IELTS is not an easy test. You need to practice for a good 6 months to a year, I think. No, I don't like showing off. Hello, Lynn. Hello, Wang. Hello, Igna. Hello, Razan. Hello, Laurie. Hello, Emery. Hello, Walid. Hello, Azari. You're a music teacher. Yes, I'm a musician. Thank you, Igna. Those are my babies. Hello, Rodolfo and Shining Star and Joan. Hello, Ahmad and JL and Emery. All right, who would like to come talk with me? Awad wants to come talk with me. Awad, I'm waiting for you. Hello, Awad, are you there? I'll try again. Well, raise your hand if you want to come talk to me. Hello, Tomas. Good to see you, my friend. And Razan, I'm glad to hear that. Whenever you come to my live, you get more motivated. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's part of a teacher's job, is to motivate. You know, I hear some teachers, not necessarily here, but just in general, I hear some teachers who, they don't have a very motivating energy. And I'm that way too, occasionally. There are days when I'm really tired or I'm not in a good mood and I don't have a very motivating energy, and it's not a very good thing for a teacher. You know, to be a teacher, you need to have this sense of, yeah, we can do it. Let's do it, team. You know, that whole thing, right? Well, okay, Ahad or Awad, whoever it was, he disappeared. So let's bring up Musali, and then I see Tomas and Dana are waiting for me. I'll get to you as well. I'll try to at least. Walid or Musali, Musali, are you there? There's Musali. Hello, Musali.
Hello,
How are you, my friend?
I'm fine. And you?
Ah, you're driving. That's kind of dangerous, isn't it?
No, I'm just in stop now.
Oh, okay, good. All right. I'm glad. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I am fine. And how are you? This is the first time. No, this is the second. First time was yesterday, but it was a brief time I saw you. But
Okay.
this is the second, and I'm happy to be with you.
Well, thank you for coming back. And what can I do for you today? Do you have any questions for me about English or something I can help you with?
Just nowadays I'm practice my speaking and trying to improve my English language, especially in the speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. Well, tell
I
me
just test myself.
what's your problem? What do you think is your problem with English speaking?
Maybe according to the topics, some topics just I get confused and I don't know how to express my idea or my thought.
Okay. Well, see, this is why language has many parts, and all of those parts help each other, right? So if you tell me that you have a difficult time explaining things in English, then that tells me that maybe you need to read more about that thing in English or listen more about that thing in English. So let's say you're talking about some kind of a topic like technology, okay? Well, you can search online and find out more about that technology and read the articles about that technology. See how other people describe it, right? That's one. Or go to something like TED Talks, TED.com, where you can listen to someone talk about that thing, you know? So listening and reading will help your speaking, right? Because you're seeing good examples of how to describe that thing. And that's what language is. Language is describing our world, right? And of course, listening is one of the most important parts of language, because when you're a baby, you need to listen before you can speak, right? When you speak without listening, there's nothing that you say makes sense. But then you hear your mom say mama, or your dad say dada, and then that's what the first thing you say, oh, because you listened to it first, right? You heard them say the word and then you were able to say it. So that's why listening is such an important part of language. You have to hear people use it well first before you can use it well yourself, right? So that's why I think it's really important to spend time learning and growing by listening to more and more people talk about the world, right? Language is the way we describe our world, right? So that's what I would suggest to you is, besides my normal tip that I give everybody, that you should spend as much time as you can thinking in English. That's how you'll become comfortable with English, is if you spend more time thinking in English, not in Arabic. But after that, then the next thing you need to do is you need to hear and see other people and read about other people who have described the things that you want to describe, right? So if I want to talk about history, I can't talk about history if I didn't read any history.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, it's really simple.
The other thing, I think there is some words, I think the level of its high, so it's difficult to remember. Just maybe it will be used even in native speakers, and for let's say every 10 days we'll use it once.
Right. So vocabulary is another issue. Of course, you need to develop your vocabulary as well, right? So how do you do that? Reading is one of the best ways to develop vocabulary because when you read and you see new words, you're learning them in the context of what you're reading. So whatever story you're creating in your mind will help you define the word. And because it's in a story, you'll remember it, right? If you just try to look at words and say, I'm going to memorize this word, your brain won't remember that because it has no context. It has nothing to hold on to, right? But if you learn it in a story, then, or an article, that's talking about something, now there's a much better chance of you remembering it. Okay. And then after you find that new word in a story, then you can also look it up in a thesaurus. Okay. In a thesaurus. And a thesaurus is a dictionary of synonyms, right? And so let's say when I talk to my young students, sometimes I say, hello, how are you? And they all reply, I'm fine, thank you. And you? I'm fine, thank you. And you? I'm fine, thank you. And you? It's like a robot, and I tell them, guys, you can say, I'm great, I'm good, I'm wonderful, I'm fantastic, I'm so. Try to find new words to describe the same feeling, right? But in a new way, right? So that's why a thesaurus is such a great book because it's not a dictionary. A dictionary tells you the meaning of the words. A thesaurus will let you explore the words you already know and then tell you all the words that are related to that word that you can maybe use as a substitute, right? So that's a great way. And then another great way is by topic, where you can learn vocabulary by topic. So if you're studying computers, what are all the vocabulary words that have to do with computers? Learn them as a group together, right? Monitor, screen, CPU, data. Those are all words that are related to computers. And if you learn them as a group, like a family, there's a better chance you're going to remember them. And then the final tip I have for learning vocabulary is something called etymology. Etymology means the history of where English words come from and how they've changed over time. So can you tell me what is the Arabic word for dice? Like playing a game with dice. What is the Arabic word for dice? D-I-C-E. Dice, that's the little squares with numbers on them and you throw them to play games. Do you know what I'm talking about? There we go. Do you see it in the chat? Yeah, how do you say that in Arabic?
Merit.
Okay. So a long time ago I think that the word, or maybe the word is chance. A long time ago in Arabic there was a word, I think it was al-hazar, something like that. And the word originally described a game that they used to play with dice. Okay? And this game, if you cheat in that game, then it was very dangerous for you. Maybe they would kill you if they caught you cheating at this game, right? So the word al-hazar, a lot of foreign people who were in the area, like maybe travelers from Europe, they would hear that word when they're talking about the game and they thought, oh, it's dangerous to cheat at this game. So the word hazard, that's where the word hazard comes from. Hazard means danger, right? But it actually comes from this game they used to play in Middle Eastern countries that sounded like the word hazard, right? That's etymology, right? And English has many words that come from many different languages. And sometimes there are very interesting stories like that one that help you remember the words. So that's right. Yeah, your brain is like a spider web, Musali. So when a spider makes a web, if it only makes one little string of web, it's not going to catch anything, right? So what does it do? It makes many strings with many connections. Each time you learn a word, you need to try to make as many connections with that word as you possibly can. The more connections that you have with that word, the more ways that you can engage with that word, the more likely you're going to remember it. But if you only try to memorize, that's just like making a web with one string. You're not going to catch anything. It's going to go in one ear and come right out the other ear. Yeah, you'll forget. So, yeah, that's the other, way to look at words. Some people think it's a little bit too advanced etymology, to learn the history of the words, but I think it's fascinating. I think it's interesting. I think that it's very useful. Sometimes there are many words that are related to each other, right? Especially the Latin words. 60% of English words come from Latin or Greek. So there are many words that start with the letters P-R-E, meaning before, right? So preview means look before. View to look, before. Pre-test. Yeah,
Post after.
that's right. Post means after, right? So there are so many words that have pre in them and post in them and sub in them and ob in them or in, X. All of these are root words. These are little root words that help you to understand the words. And where can you find them? You can find them on Google, but you can go to another great place. There's a website called etymonline.com. It's an online etymology dictionary.
Okay, teacher Mark, sorry to say that, but I will keep watching you, but there is something.
Yeah, that's okay. No problem. That's all right. It was great to talk to you, Masali. I hope my advice was helpful to you, and I'll see you next time, okay? All right, take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love etymology. I know I'm a nerd, but I love etymology. I think it's very interesting. Thank you, Ali Reha, for your... I've never described myself as dashing before. Let me check the comments. Let me make sure I didn't miss any important comments here. Just give me a minute to catch up, guys. So many comments. Nasir, I understand you want to come on the stage. Lots of people do. You have to be patient, and writing your comment 1,000,000 times is not going to help, okay? Hello, Sarah. Good to see you. Hello, Lynn. Good to see you as well. Welcome to everybody who's new. Thank you very much for coming. Okay, I'm looking for some comments. Thank you for sharing the room. You have a question, which is, I know vocabulary in many words, but I don't know how to use them in sentences. What should I do? Julia, you can do a few things. One, the first thing I would suggest is type in those vocabulary words into Google and type in example sentences, right? So read some sentences that use the word so that you can see how it can be used, okay? That would be the first thing I would suggest. That's exactly right, Sarah. That's my biggest tip. Thinking in English. That you have to... It doesn't matter where you live. It matters what language you think in where you live. Right? So if a Chinese person moves to the United States, does that mean that they suddenly stop thinking in Chinese and they can't practice their Chinese anymore? No, they still think in Chinese anytime they want to. But if they want to learn English, then they should try to change the language they think in so that they can practice English more. Right? You don't have a good foundation in English. Carolina, your English was pretty good. I've talked to you many times. Can I give you advice on how to relearn it correctly? You need maybe you need to go through a decent basic grammar book to make sure that you didn't miss anything. Send me a message, Carolina, and maybe I'll see if I can recommend a few books for you, okay? Dima, your phone is not broken. HelloTalk is not broken. HelloTalk has decided that they don't like the feature of turning your phone anymore. Send them a private message. Tell HelloTalk that you want the horizontal feature back again. I've been begging them to bring that back, Dima. They took it away. Yeah, they thought it was not good. I don't know why, but so many people like to be able to turn their phone so that they can see a full screen view of me, and I like it too. I prefer it that way, but they got rid of that feature. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to catch up with the comments, guys. Please be patient. Yes, that is the origin of hazard. Hello, 哈哈，你好。如果你听不懂我说什么，我觉得你需要试试看听我，看我。每天你可以试试看。如果你试试看，我觉得你可以啊。有时候我说简单的英文，这个你可以听得懂。OK， 有时候我说快一点，有一点难的，可是加油。All right. Hello, Lucas. You're embarrassed about your pronunciation? Well, just keep working on it. Keep working on it. Thank you, Chelsea. Hello, Dana. Practicing with me is free. Guys, to be honest with you, that's not why I'm here. Okay? I'm not really just here to practice English with you. I am a teacher. If you have questions, come ask me your questions. But if you just want to come talk to me, there are so many people here who need my help. So, just saying, hey guys, what's up? How are you? That's not a good use of my time here. Okay. So, it would be better if you could think of a question to ask me. All right. Thank you, Vashika. Hello, Wendy. Thank you. If we don't have the English environment, how do we learn the native English? TV, movies, books, you study the native English and then you use it in your mind as much as you can every day. That's how. Okay? Why do I think your ex contacted you and told you he got a new girlfriend? Because he's a jerk. Move on. There are plenty of guys. Find another one. How to become a good writer in English. Sunday, try using ChatGPT. Is a great new tool to be able to improve your grammar and your spelling and your not your pronunciation, your grammar, your spelling, your sentence structure, your wording, all those things, right? So tell ChatGPT to be your writing teacher, and it will. Okay? Learning 3 words takes almost a week to stay in your head. Islam, then that means you need to find more creative ways to engage with the words, right? So it doesn't require a lot more time. It requires more effective use of your time. Okay? Shreya, if you do a search online for that question, there will be many web pages that come up that will tell you how to use would have been, could have been. That's a fairly big grammar lesson for me to give. So you have to go try to learn it first yourself and then come back to me and see if you have a question about it after that, right? Okay? You don't know whether you're correct or your English is correct or not when you speak English or think English. Sometimes it's not that important, to be honest with you. I think it matters more that you spend time with English vocabulary in your mind. Okay, so if your grammar is a little bit off, my grammar with Chinese is not correct occasionally, but everybody understands me, and that's all I care about. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm trying to communicate. Okay? Thank you, Krish. What advice do I give you to speak more fluently? Learn how to think in English. You're curious whether you should study grammar first, reading, or memorizing words first. There is no first, Emery. There are 8 parts of language, and you need to study all of them equally. Reading, writing, listening, speaking, thinking, grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Okay, so they're all important. There's not one that you should start with and then do the other ones. You need to do them all at the same time. So you need 8 plans and 8 different ways to practice those things. Okay? What kind of cat is common in my area? I have no idea. I don't know. Bye, Ravi. Hello, Lynch. Tomas, did I miss you? I'm so sorry, Tomas. I'm so sorry. I was trying to catch up, but I can't catch up with the comments. It just, there are too many comments. I need to stop trying to answer everybody's questions, but it's hard. How many languages do I speak perfectly? None. None languages. Mary Yervis, I speak English okay because I'm a native speaker, but I've learned Chinese, and my Chinese is all right, but it's not that great, I think. Thank you, Krish. Thank you, Chelsea. Hussein, my name is Teacher Mark, not Para, and I am a native English speaker from America, from the United States. Okay? I seem like a very white person. That's a very funny thing to say. All right. Wow, too many comments. Oh, wow. Okay, hello, Teacher AS. Good to see you again, my friend. Okay, let's get Tomas up here for a minute. He's been waiting. Oh, Tomas? No, Tomas, come back up. Raise your hand. I was just about ready to choose you, and then you disappeared again. Raise your hand again, Tomas. Come on. I'm ready. There he is. Let's get Tomas up here. We'll get Tomas and Teacher AS up here at the same time. Tomas, come on up. And Teacher AS, do you want to come up as well? Hello, my good friend. How are you?
Mark. Salut. Bonjour.
morning.
Yes, salute.
Good morning.
Bonjour. Yes. Hola.
Yes.
And hello, AS. How are
Wow.
you?
I'm doing good. Been
Good.
awake since 5 in the morning. Can't sleep. I had a
Ooh.
meeting in the morning.
Oh, I hate those morning meetings.
Yeah. Just got done like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for
I
coming.
saw it. Yeah, my phone was keep popping up. All the people in our LET group, they've been sending your, notification everywhere, and I was like getting it. I was like, once I'm gonna done with my meeting, and I was trying to finish my meeting on time. Like, okay, guys, take it easy, and they're like, keep extending, and I'm like, take it easy, keep extending.
Yeah, and I appreciate it to all the LET people who share my streams, and in all those groups. There's 22 groups now, and it takes forever to try to share to all those. So yeah, it's really hard to keep up, but it's nice when somebody goes out of their way to try to do that for me. I appreciate that. I wish there was a more simple way to share one thing to multiple groups. Maybe I'll send them a message about that. That would be useful.
You can do it on the voice, but you can't do it while you're doing your live streams and stuff, which is crazy.
Well, I've not figured out how to do it even with voice rooms. But my voice rooms are a little complicated because I do them on my computer using a program that's like a simulator. And so there are some functions that don't work at all on my computer from HelloTalk just because I'm using a simulator. Yeah.
How do you do that? I'm trying to. Okay.
There's a program. There's a program called BlueStacks that I use.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, and so I open it. I do that because I record my voice rooms into Audacity to make a podcast.
Gotcha.
So, and Tomas, hello, my friend. What's new?
Hello, Mark. Hello, guys.
So good to see you, my brother.
Well, I am here.
You are here.
Mark, just a specification, Mark. I didn't mean I was waiting too long. Absolutely.
Oh, no. It's okay, man. I was just kidding. It's all right.
No. I was kidding about the comment saying if Mark has to explain all these things, which is quite half book of grammar.
Yeah,
I will
right.
come back.
Yeah, like there are sometimes when people ask me a question that's a grammar question, that's a pretty big question. Like it would take me 15 to 20, maybe even 30 minutes to explain. And maybe I'm not completely prepared for it. Like I would need a few websites to pull up so that I can show things properly, so it's not that I don't want to help those people, and it's not that I can't. I can answer those questions, but the other part of it is I kind of think that if you have a question that big, buy a lesson. Buy a lesson. I give a lot of free information, and that's great. But if you really need very specific help with things, then buy a lesson from me. It's, I'll make it worth your time.
Yes. Moreover, for grammar lessons, okay, as you said, we can answer single questions, not specific
Right.
topic.
Yeah.
But for explain
Yeah.
complete topic, we need what's the name? The board. We need a board.
Right.
We need to write.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And they do kind of have a feature like that, but yeah, that's the point is that if you have a big question about grammar, then that means I need a little bit more preparation time to answer it properly. Now there are certain simple questions, like I answered the question about diagramming sentences and sentence structure in a basic way. But that if I were teaching that as a lesson, that would be a half an hour lesson about English sentence structure and how to diagram sentences properly. And I would have all the materials that I need to do that. But yeah, if you just come randomly on my stream and say, something like, can you explain first and second and third and fourth conditionals to me? It's like, that's a big question. That's going to take a little time. That's a whole lesson, So that's why I think that those are the kind of questions that if you really want me to answer that question, I can, but you should just.
that's why I wrote the comment, Mark, exactly for that.
Yeah.
I was just kidding.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you, Tomas. Yeah. Did you put your teepee away?
Yes, but I installed it in my friend's.
Oh, so you moved it to your
Really?
friend's place. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't keep it long here
okay.
beside the house because there are restrictions.
Ah.
You can do something, but
That's
not
interesting.
for a long time. You know,
Yeah, I do
Italy,
know.
there are lots
Yeah.
of restrictions.
Yeah. You know, I mean, everywhere's that way anymore. In America, we have something called the HOA, the Homeowners Association. And so every neighborhood you join, they have all these rules about what you can and can't do. And
Yes.
and sometimes it's a bit crazy. I mean, I understand it on a basic level, but sometimes they're a bit nuts. You know, they're a bit almost fascist about it. You know, like, yeah, you know, I mean, if you're playing music or something, you know, yeah.
In Italy, you have to multiply your experience by 100.
All right, good to know. Good to know. Well, you guys did have Mussolini, so I guess that makes sense. I'm just teasing.
No, now it's worse. It's worse.
Now it's worse. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Well. So,
okay.
no, let me just get Teacher AS back into the mix here. What's new with you, man? We still have to get together and do a podcast sometime soon.
Yes, sir. Not a lot going on. I'm just trying to go back to school, and I moved back to my old facility, which is crazy.
Okay.
I was trying to get away from that, but I went back to it. And I'm going to be start working over there. We'll go back to school and just trying to come over here every now and then to make sure that more and more people will get a chance to practice their English. It's kind of funny, you know, every single time I hop around, people happen to know me, and I'm like, how do you know me? Oh, Teacher is, you're actually really famous. I was
See,
like,
you're much
"I
more
didn't know
popular
that."
than you think.
You know, you're actually really famous. I got into somebody's live stream yesterday, and she, you know, I talked to that sister, and I was like, and she was like, she's so introvert and not ready to put herself out there. And I was like, I used to be like that as well, but it's a skill. Like
Yeah.
you mentioned before, that you're performing in front of others, right?
That's right.
Whenever you're talking. And I think that sometimes you have to fake it until you make it, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. And you know what? That's another thing I think is very interesting about language learning, because when people learn a new language, they often take a new name, right? Like especially Chinese people, they choose their English name. And there's something very, very useful about that, because when you choose a new name, it's like a stage name. And that's what stage names are. When you're an actor, if you have a stage name, your stage name can be whoever you want them to be. So maybe your real name, you're a shy person, but your stage name, you can develop a completely new character. And that person doesn't have to be anything that you were. Right. So that's why when you learn a language, if you choose a new name, remember that you can also choose new characteristics, new personality traits. You don't have to be the same person. That's what's nice about choosing a new name. You can be a whole new person.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I'm reading Kevin Hart's book, and you know his work ethic is crazy. He as in the beginning of stand up, he was hitting all the clubs and stuff, you know, to work on his craft all the time, and he was like, I wanna polish my skill continuously. I don't want to stay with the same content, and it's really important for us to keep working and investing in ourselves, and at the same time, repetition, I think, is really important. If you're keep doing the same thing, eventually you're gonna get the hang of it, and it will become the second nature. And that's sort of like what I was trying to imply to her as well. that I was not an extrovert. I was an introvert who became an extrovert, right?
Right.
And what I do usually, what I'm good at, I ask questions.
Mhm.
You know, I just pose question in order to strike a conversation. I may not be a great conversationalist, but I'm a great interviewer.
That's
So,
actually very true. And when people ask me how to carry on better conversations, that's my answer is be curious. It's not as hard as you think. Just ask questions about their life. What do you like to do for fun? Where are you from? Have you ever been to this country before? Did you have a busy day? Where do you work? Do you like your work? Do you have any kids? These are not difficult questions to think of, just be curious. That's it.
or American pizza is real, man. Italian pizza. I'm just kidding. Just teasing. I just wanted to see his reaction. He's not even reacting. Thomas, what's going on? Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think I hear somebody upstairs. Can you guys wait for just 1 second? And
Definitely.
yeah, you guys talk to each other for just a second. I'll be right back. I just want to make sure there's not somebody at my door because I'm expecting a package. So let me just go check really quickly. I'll be right back.
Take your time.
No, yes. Did you refer to me when you talked about pizza? I
Yeah,
didn't understand.
I was saying American pizza is way better than Italian one. I'm just kidding.
No, sorry, because it was the moment when it started raining here, so I was distracted. It's coming.
As a matter of
Very
fact,
strong.
pizza was created in America. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just
No.
messing with you.
No, about that. It's a recurrent topic. Is it a word? Okay. On Hello Talk about how to make pizza, I've discovered that probably most of the world like pizza, not in the typical Italian way, original way,
Right.
which is more simple, but we, adding lots of ingredients. So for me, and they justify this taste, saying it's more rich, it's more tasty. I have a hard time justifying why the original one is better. Not only it took some experience to to explain why. Not every Italian would be good because the key is the ingredients, the quality of the ingredients. Does that?
Exactly. Guys, if you guys are joining for the first time, we have Thomas and Teacher Mark just went out to get his package. I am not the host. I'm just trying to help him out. We have incredible Thomas all the way from Italy, and he's been traveling a lot. How was your travel, Thomas? How did you like your travel to Paris? Your trip to
Wow.
Paris, I would say.
Yes, it was exactly what I was expecting for. Like you, of course, something a bit more, something a bit less, but I found what I was looking for. Great experience, an experience for the life. I suggest everyone, next time you will have Olympics USA, I suggest you to take this chance, go to LA. I hope they don't put prices
Too
as
high.
high.
So we're talking about the
As
Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I have mixed feelings. I'm not really. I'm not really that into it, to be honest. I don't know.
I am sort of because Simone Biles after watching her documentary on Netflix, and I was like wanting to know, what's she all about? And my wife is crazy about gymnastics and stuff, and
Well,
she's
that's
wanting
cool.
to go over to Olympics, but eventually I want to make it happen. I don't know if it's gonna. Where is it gonna be happening next? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
U.S.
Los Angeles.
Next time is Madrid. Is it in Madrid next,
Madrid?
Belen?
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
No, Los Angeles. Los Angeles.
Oh, L.A.
L.A.
Oh, okay.
That's gonna be easier.
Yeah, that's a bit easier, right?
Way easier.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think that they've made it into too much of a celebrity event now, and that's what
I know.
that's what I don't like. Is no offense, I like Snoop Dogg, but I don't understand the purpose of him being there, and all
Exactly.
these Tom Cruise and all these people that they're
Kevin Hart.
Yeah,
For no
like
reason.
they have nothing to do with it. They have nothing to do with it, and I think it takes the focus off of what it's really about, which is not a
Yeah.
celebrity event. It's not a red carpet event. So
Not
that's
Oscars.
that's what that's right. That's what I don't like about it is they've turned it into this big celebrity event, and then there's a funny thing about the word competition. If you didn't know this, let me look up from my notes here. So competition, compete. The word compete, actually, the word originally "com" means together, and pete comes from the Latin word petere, meaning to strive or seek or fall
To
upon.
strive for.
Right. So the original meaning of compete is to strive for things together, not against each other. So it's kind of a
it.
weird thing that we've turned the word into this thing where we're working against each other. And then, okay, so for example, the girl who I can't remember her name now, but the American girl who the medal got taken away from her and given to the Romanian girl, and
Oh, okay.
because of like 4 seconds or something. So supposedly what I heard was that they had some kind of a disagreement about the scoring, and they made a formal review of it, and the formal review was correct that they did misscore the event, but they turned it in 4 seconds late. And
Yeah.
so then
Jordan Childs.
Jordan Childs. So now the medal goes to the Romanian girl because of 4 seconds, not because it's wrong. They were, apparently the judgment was apparently correct that she should have won, but it was about 4 seconds of some sort of rule, which is stupid. And then on top of that, Jordan Childs then was regaled with a whole lot of racist comments from the country of Romania, unfortunately. She was apparently inundated with all kinds of racist comments about it. And like I said, this is
Everybody
where...
was beating her up. Yeah.
Right, this is where competition and me get off the train. Like, soccer's great, but as soon as you start making monkey noises about people, I'm not into it. I'm done. I'm off. I'm not into it at all. As soon as you care about competition that much that you're willing to dehumanize people, I'm not into it. That's why I like music. You don't see bands doing that to each other. You don't see bands saying Guns N' Roses is the worst band ever. I hate them. Our band is so much better than their band. That I've never seen that in my years as a musician. And that's why I think Teacher AS, I think it was you and I that we were talking, maybe it was you, I can't remember, about why I think diss tracks are stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's for the same reason. I think diss tracks, if you're making a song, about how much you hate somebody else or how much they're worse than you, you don't understand music. You don't understand what music is about. You're on the wrong path. You don't get it. So that's my only beef with competition in general is, as soon as competition becomes so important that you start devaluing humans and humanity because someone won and someone lost, then I'm kind of like, no, I can't support that.
Even our
Right.
society is like so engrossed with the fact that you're battling at that level and you should be getting gold medal. Not everybody is going to be getting a gold medal. For them to be there is the biggest honor, right?
Right.
So why don't you like
Right.
share them and praise
The
them
the
for
stories that I love are the ones where, like those rare stories you see where somebody was running a race and they were in first place, but then they got like a cramp or something. But then the runners behind them came to help them win. That's
Yeah.
what I like to see. That's what I think is the true spirit of the Olympics. Not like, oh, well, they were in first, but they're injured now, so now I'm going to win because I can. That's the spirit, right? That's what I'm saying, and that's what I appreciate. And then there's another small part of it, which is just that sports in general is two things. One, I mentioned earlier, the original meaning of the word sport comes from the word disport, which means dis meaning away and port meaning to carry. Sports are something you're supposed to do to carry your mind away from daily activities, daily business, the things that stress you out. That's what sports are. That's what they're supposed to be. That's what they originally were, right? But if you're creating a whole new level of stress on them, then I think you're missing the point, And then on top of that, Tomas, you'll appreciate this, bread and circuses.
Well,
bread
I
and
did-
circuses,
Yeah, absolutely. I can say something about it. I didn't know about sport, the etymology, but I have been always curious, but never searched by myself. So interesting.
Yeah, isn't it? It's a really interesting word. Yeah. When you
Yeah.
think about it that way, then it was supposed to be something that was a leisure activity to make you forget about your work or stress or, the difficult things in life. But if you start caring about sports so much that you now have created new stress over it, then you're missing the point. It's a game. it's a game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regarding competition, so interesting as well. But about that, I had already awareness without knowing etymology, to the point that in the recent years, in every comments, in every discussion, I stopped presenting matches using the word versus. A team versus another.
You're right.
In Italian too, we
Right.
say Real Madrid versus Barcelona to say two familiar clubs. Oh, no, it's not versus, it's with. I started saying with.
Oh, I like that. That's better. Yeah, that makes.
Because I don't make a match against another one, because without the other opponent, there is no match.
That's right.
We make the match together.
Right.
So
And at the end of when I used to play soccer, or baseball, we did the same thing in baseball too. At the end of the game, both teams are supposed to walk by each other and shake hands, and actually believe it and mean it. Like, hey, good job, But I don't feel that. I don't feel that spirit when there's 80,000 people who are screaming and throwing things at the players they don't like and saying terrible names at people. The commercialization of it has just gotten to a point where, it creates, it doesn't bring people together. It pulls people apart, my team and your team and all this. And again, it just seems so silly to me because it's just sports. And I know that that's maybe insulting to some people who really care about sports, but it's a game.
great.
It's a game.
great.
At the end of the day, all of them are games. And, for me, as a teacher, you know who the highest paid person at almost any university is in the United States? The football coach.
Really?
Ah,
Wow.
Yeah. Their salaries are almost always quadruple, quintuple more than the best professor that they have at that university.
that's
What does that say about us? You know, what does that
That's,
say about us? That, come on, I think we're missing the point of what education is supposed to be about. But that's because the sports make money for them. You know, that's the reason why. Yeah. So.
yes, it's a market economy, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But like I said, you have to take it all with a grain of salt, as we say, you know, and like I said, there's another aspect to it, which is that, you know, the Romans, they believed in bread and circuses, which is that if you could give the people bread and entertainment, that you could keep them busy and they wouldn't have time to think about the things that they should be thinking about their lives and government and what things could be better. You know, they just focus on the Roman games, you know. And now we do the same thing with sports and movies and TV and video games and I always try to keep that in my head, that if you pay too much attention to that stuff, then you're not able to pay attention to the things that might actually really matter.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
About much attention, I agree with the Olympics. Okay. But I would say, Mark, coming from, you know, in Italy, it's almost about all football, which, but very degraded environment.
Right.
So, as you said before. So, coming from this kind of environment, the Olympics match quite well the idea of the sport.
Okay.
So yes, the much willing of winning, okay, but at the end, the athletes shake hands easily. They are happy even when they are second, third, because
I think that's good. I just wish they would try to do more to show that part of the spirit of things, instead of encouraging people to believe, like, you know, it's like you said, us versus them. It should be all of us striving to be our best, period. And we're all trying hard, you know. So if China wins more medals than the United States does, do I feel like, oh, no. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because I live on a big blue rock in space. That's where I live, and they live there too. So if they have success, it's still my success.
Exactly.
You know, I don't care
Yeah.
what country you are or what flag you have. I still say, again, we live on Earth. That means your culture is my culture. My culture is your culture. That's the way it works.
Same family. Part of the same family.
That's right. Yeah. And if you go back and look at so many things are connected, food in throughout history, you start looking at where foods come from and how they've moved around over time and changed. We're related in so many ways. Music, again, how many things that are related musically over time. Language, how many things are related through time and connect us. You know, but the problem is that we only see ourselves in our own time period, and so none of those connections seem apparent to us. You know, so yeah, like I said, you know, like Tomas, what's one of the most important vegetables in Italian food?
tomato,
Tomatoes. And where are tomatoes from?
American.
Yeah, Mexico. The word tomato comes from the old early Mayan Nahuatl word tomatl. And yeah, so that's what I'm talking about is when you think of Italian food, right? The Italian flag, red, white, and green, and you think of a margarita pizza with the red sauce and the white mozzarella and the, and the green basil, right? That's Italian culture, right? But one of the most important parts of Italian culture, the tomato, didn't even exist there until Columbus brought it there. So yeah, that's okay. Take your time. Those kinds of things make me laugh, that people don't see those connections that, hey, guess what? One of my favorite kinds of tacos, the al pastor taco. Do you know where that comes from? Look at you. There you go. Yeah. Al pastor tacos are one of my favorite kind of tacos. And if you ever go to a real taqueria and you see the way they make them, sometimes they have the meat is on a spit that's spinning around with fire heating it, and they cut pieces off and put it in the taco. Does that sound familiar at all to you?
Yeah.
Shawarma. Why? Because a long time ago, there were some people from, I believe, Lebanon in the Middle East who emigrated to Mexico, and they brought that style of cooking to that area, and that's how we have al pastor tacos.
Wow. That's crazy.
Right. So again, those are the connections that I think that most people don't know about and can't see, but that's why I just find it so amusing when we start talking about us versus them and this country versus that country. And when are we going to stop with the silliness of that? It's just all so silly, and it becomes even more important because now there are problems that we all have together that we all need to solve together, but we can't if we keep talking about us as individuals and separated from each other, Yeah. So, anyway.
I think it's really important for us to understand that that we're part of the same mission, part of the same family. We're living in the same earth, and we should not separate ourselves from each other in some way, shape, or form. We are connected. There's something, if you dig deeper, then you would able to understand that we are connected with each other. Scientists did a research a long time ago where they were like, okay, somebody from America could look exactly the same from somebody from India, and I was like, that's crazy. Even the facial expression, the mannerism, the way they're acting and eating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you can't, even if you're from different country, doesn't mean that you're
that's right.
different.
Yeah. And that's why I have spent my entire life learning about food, music, and language and history. Food, music, language, and history. Because when you learn about those three things in a historical sense, then you see all the connections and it starts to become more clear about what's really happening here. But sometimes if you're only focused, if you only know about your current time period, then you're only able to see yourself in this us versus them mentality.
Yeah, we're stuck in a box. We're not looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You're so right about that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, but like I said, food, music, and language are three things that are very easy to study and learn about that can bring people together. Because I can appreciate food from any culture. Yummy is yummy anywhere, right? So if I go to India, there's yummy food. If I go to Russia, there's yummy food. If I go to Mexico, there's yummy food. That helps you to see that delicious is delicious. It doesn't matter where you are, right? And music, I can go to any place in the world and hear music that I can be like, oh, wow, that's cool. I like that. That's amazing. That's beautiful, So, and then language, like I said, the history of languages, when you start learning about etymology and where languages come from and how they've changed. And I've only touched on English, but there's etymology for all the other languages too, you know, especially all the European languages. They all are related. English, including, is related. Before Germanic, it was what we call PIE, Proto-Indo-European. And almost all of the languages in Europe and the Middle East, for that matter, derive from this one area that was the area that they called Proto-Indo-Europe that all of these languages came from. So, yeah, again,
Yeah.
some of these things have changed greatly over time, and some of them have not changed at all. Like I said, the word tomato, we spell it almost, you know, or pronounce it, I should say, almost exactly the same way it was pronounced 3,000, 4,000 years ago. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Actually, in Neo-Latin languages, the word tomato has changed. You know, pomodoro.
right.
But it's totally another thing. In
Right,
French,
that's
so-
like I said. Yeah, that's again like there are reasons why they changed it to those things. If you find the links,
Yes.
then you'll see where it comes from. But the original word that we say tomato, tomato was for the English word, comes from the early Mayan language, the Nahuatl language, which yeah, they spelled it and pronounced it like tomato L at the end, not tomato. Avocado, again, another one from that area. Cacao, chocolate, all come from that area.
Wow.
Yes, yes. It will be interesting to know because yes, that was the original Mayan word, but for sure the root toma surely is linked with something else, some different other words with particular meaning. It can be also gold because it's gold. I'm inventing.
No,
something.
you're right. You're right. No, the reason I can tell you the reason why, because when tomatoes were first brought to Europe, they called them golden apples.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. And it's funny because when they first brought tomatoes to Europe, the rich people wouldn't eat them. They thought they were poison. They called them poison apples sometimes too. They called them golden apples or poison apples. And it wasn't until the poor people started using them and eating them, because poor people will eat anything, right? You have no choice. So, hey, look, there's a fruit. Let's try it. Let me see if it's good. They say you might die. Well, let's find out. You know, like that's what they do, right? And so that's great. That's why poor people make the most delicious food in the world, because they try everything. They use everything. They're not afraid, you know? And so, yeah, that's what they used to call them, is poison apples or golden apples. And some of the first ones that came to Europe were not red. They were yellow-orange, like gold.
But actually, the Italian word for tomato is golden apple.
Right, yeah,
Never
Pomodoro,
realized.
right,
Never
yeah.
realized.
That's right.
Pomodoro.
That's what
But-
the original meaning was, yeah.
I am interested, Mark, in getting to know the Mayan root of the word tomato. There
Yeah.
must be so many. Maybe gold as well. I don't know.
That's
It will-
interesting. Let me see.
It is gold. Yeah. I'm looking at it as well. That's crazy. Wow. Whole
It
apple-
means to swell. Tomato, the original meaning means to swell, to get fat, because that's what tomatoes do, right? When they grow on the plant, tomatoes eventually get to the point where they get fatter and fatter, and then they crack because they're swelling so much, right? So that's what the original meaning is, to swell.
Yeah.
Okay.
It came
Yeah.
from the word Spanish tomate, and it means swelling fruit.
Yeah, tomato, that's the Spanish word, but before that it comes from the Nahuatl Aztec word, not Mayan,
Nahuatl,
Aztec, yeah.
Yeah.
Which meant the swelling fruit. Yeah.
The swelling. From
Yeah, and anybody who's grown tomatoes knows, yeah, of course, that's exactly what they are. They start out this tiny little thing and they get fatter and fatter and fatter until they actually, if you leave them on the plant too long, they split, right? Because they're swollen so much, And the reason why they thought they were poison was because the tomato comes from a plant called the nightshade family. And nightshade plants, those are poisons. They are poisonous plants. All of the plant will kill you, right? So there's a common weed that grows in gardens around here that's a nightshade, and it's a pretty little plant, but every little part of that plant is poison, and it's from the same family as tomatoes. And so that's why early people, when they saw them, they thought, well, this looks a lot like this plant, and this plant is poisonous, so this must be poison.
It's the family of Solanaceae. Do you say Solanaceae plants in English? Solanaceae, like
Solanaceae.
aubergine.
What is that?
Because the family of the plants with those little seeds.
Oh,
like
right. That might be it. Yeah, because they have these little flowers and seeds that are poisonous. That's right. Yeah.
some people cannot eat them.
The nightshade plant.
Not tomatoes nor aubergines. Yes, aubergines. They cannot eat them. For them are
right.
Poison.
And that's another one that people always ask me about is why do Americans call the aubergine an eggplant? And that's because the original eggplants also come from South America, and the first ones that they found, if you look at them, if you type in eggplant and then type in white, they look like little white eggs on the plant.
Yes.
That's exactly what they look like. They look like eggs hanging from the plant. So now we think of the purple, big fat ones or the long purple ones from Asia. But the first eggplants that were brought were these little white things that look like eggs. Yeah. And the word aubergine comes from the Catalan word auberginera, which comes, that's interesting. That comes from Persian.
That's crazy. That's even crazier.
Yeah, and then before that, Sanskrit.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's a Persian word, Batinjan, and then the Sanskrit word is Vatigagama, but that's the original origin of aubergine.
Even if I studied Sanskrit when I was a kid, never heard of it.
That's a really interesting language. I mean, it's one of the oldest languages, actually.
One of the oldest languages. I used to speak in Sanskrit. And
wow, that's amazing.
Back in the days.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, like I said, though, food history is one of my favorite little things to study because of all these little roots. And that's, again, when you start finding all these, like, wow, that's really, is that where that comes from? You go, wow, that's cool. Whether it's language or food or music, jazz music from America wouldn't happen if it weren't for the slaves we brought from Africa who brought their influence to America. What's it called? Capoeira in Brazil, again, wouldn't really exist if it weren't for the slave influence from Africa. If you go to, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is because of the influx of Japanese migrants in the 1900s to Brazil.
Yeah.
So, things that we all take for granted and accept as just being Brazilian, no, I mean, not entirely. Just like the hamburger, so that's an American food. Well, kind of, yeah, but it has German influence. French fries, Belgian influence. All these things, if you just know where they come from.
Mark, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I have to get off the stage.
Oh, that's okay.
My phone is telling me it's getting too hot.
Too hot. Yeah.
Continuously.
hot.
HelloTalk does that sometimes. Yeah, it'll make your phone too hot. Yeah. Yeah. It used to happen to my
That
old
happened.
my old phone, my iPhone 8. That's what happened to it all the time. It would get too hot using HelloTalk. So, okay, Tomas,
Okay,
yeah,
plus.
put your phone in the refrigerator for like 20 minutes. You'll be okay. Okay.
Yes, okay.
All right. I'll see you,
Thank
my
you.
friend. Good to see you. Take care.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
Yes,
Thank you
we
for
do.
being on stage, my friend.
Ciao.
It's crazy. I'm looking at all the history of it as I am listening to you, and I'm like, what? That's crazy. And I can see some eggplant, like, shaped like plants. Wow.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's why,
Wow.
you know, it makes sense when you actually see what the original one looked like. And then it's like, oh, well, duh.
Right.
That's why they called it the eggplant, you know? Yeah. Anyway.
And it connected to India because when the colonization was happening, people from England used to trade back to India or from India to
Right.
England. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
even
The
crazier.
word tea originally was pronounced tay. And that's because they were mispronouncing the word chai, which was also a mispronunciation of the Chinese word for tea, which is cha.
Cha.
So
Yeah.
tea in China is cha, tea in India is chai. Tea originally in Europe was pronounced tay, and then we changed it to tea.
But in Punjab, they pronounce it a cha as well.
Oh, well,
not
there you go.
chai.
Yeah, there
That's
you go.
crazy.
There you go. Yeah. And again, there's a great book I read called, what's it called? Around the World in 6 Glasses, I think. And it's all about
Around the world. They made a movie out of it as well.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all about the history of the world based on like
I know.
water and tea and soda and coffee and all these different drinks and how they've been, you know, that's where that's part of it, you know. Yeah. I love that author. What's his name again? Oh, I can't remember his name, but Tom Standage. Yeah, Tom Standage. He wrote another book called An Edible History of the World. That's a great one.
Around.
Yeah.
Read that book.
So
In
anyway,
80 days.
yeah, chai is Persian too. Yeah, again, like I said, language connects us all in that way. You know, when we think of British culture, tea is one of the first things that you think of. But where does that come from? Not from England. They're not growing tea plants over there. You know, that was imported. You know,
Right.
yeah. So
That's crazy. How are we connected and yet we
right. Oh. Ah, what is that sound? Can you guys hear that sound? I think something happened to your microphone. Oh, no, now it's gone. Okay, that was weird. There was a really loud sound. Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Oh no, it was somebody was trying to call me. That's why.
Oh,
I really-
okay. All right. I was like, what was that? That was weird.
It wasn't you. It was me.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. I want to make sure I don't ignore anybody else. Would somebody else like to come up and ask both of us some questions? You've got 2 teachers here. Would anyone like to come talk to us and ask us a question about English? Raise your
I'm
hand.
exploring more. When it comes to, I'm gonna read that book, Around the World in 80 Days. That's a movie that they created as well.
Oh, yeah, that's a different book. Around the World in 80 Days, that's a different book. I'm talking
Okay.
about Around the World in 6 Glasses.
6
Yeah, let me see. I think I have a copy of it here. Hold on.
All right. I'm gonna check it out. Oh, it's $10. Interesting. Let me see if I can buy Kindle. Hey. If you guys are joining for the first time, if anybody wanting to come on stage, please let us know. Would love to have you guys on stage. If you have any questions, would love to answer as well. Don't be shy. This is an opportunity to have a conversation with Teacher Mark. Teacher Mark, Teacher, yes, I have a question. What is your question? I would love to be on stage. OMG, another $10 book. I know, right? I've been spending a lot of money on Audible these days. I've been getting crazy when it comes to my Audible books. So it's just $10. I found it on Amazon.
Oh,
That's
did you
good.
find it? Yeah, yeah. And like I said, he's got a bunch of books that he wrote, but the first one I read was called An Edible History of Humanity. That's a great one. And then he wrote this, I think it's Around the World in 6 Glasses. After that, that's another good one. And then I couldn't find my copies of those, but this is another good one. Rhea Tannehill, Food and History.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me. Food and history. All right, let's see. Man, I am so fascinated by food because I
am too, man. Like, I love to eat, but I love to see how food has changed and connected us over time and where recipes come from and how, they've been influenced by different cultures and things like that, So I always find that stuff to be really interesting.
I want to go over to Italy and spend about 1 month or 2 months over there and understand how they make their sauce, right? For everything.
Yeah, the biggest secret of the tomato sauce in Italy is the tomatoes. San Marzano tomatoes. They're a specific kind of tomato that is only grown in the village of San Marzano. They're certified, like you can only sell them if they come from that place. And they are the sweetest, most delicious tomatoes ever. So if you want to make really good spaghetti sauce or tomato sauce or pizza sauce, go to the store and buy a can of San Marzano tomatoes. They're expensive, but man, are they good. Yeah,
Can you get it at
really
Walmart?
good. I'm sorry, what? Can you get them online? Yeah, I'm sure you can. Yeah.
Oh no, can I get it at Walmart?
Probably.
Probably a big Walmart, not a neighboring Walmart.
No, I think they probably have them. I mean, my local Kroger's has San Marzano tomatoes, so if Kroger's does, probably Walmart does. Let's get somebody on stage here. Alex Z wants to come talk to us.
Now we got to talk about food. Oh, found it. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you.
Hello.
Hello, Alex. Good to see you again, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Do you remember me, Mark?
Yeah, of course I do.
This is my second time come to here.
Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, you've got that great hair. I love your hair.
Yeah.
You've got that great hair.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like that Elvis style of hair. Yeah, I like that.
Wow.
And but as far as the tomatoes go, yeah, you can, if you just take those tomatoes and put them in a pot and boil them and crush them, or put them in a blender and blend them up really quickly and then boil them. What they usually do is they'll saute a little bit of garlic and basil stem, like the stem of the basil plant, put that in some oil, and sometimes some onion as well. So saute that for a few minutes and then add the tomatoes and then boil it up for just a little while. If you just do it for 20 minutes to a half an hour, that's what they call weekday sauce. If you do it for 3 or 4 hours, that's what they call Sunday sauce. So, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
So you talk about some history. Actually, I'm interested about history. And I do agree with your opinion that you said we are living in the same world. We are living in the blue planet, right? Not only in one country. I do agree with that. Yeah. So I have a question. Do you know? I know you learned the Chinese, right? And did you learn the Chinese alphabet?
The Chinese alphabet. You mean the original, like, or wait, do you mean the Chinese pronunciation system? Like, yeah, like how you break down the characters into sounds. I didn't learn that. No, I learned pinyin, but I didn't go so far as to learn breaking it down. In Taiwan, they don't use pinyin in Taiwan. They use juyin, which is basically that. It's the pronunciation system. It's all the different characters, right? So they type it with the sounds and put them together. But I would like to learn that at some point in time. I think that would help my Chinese a lot, but no, I didn't.
So, do you know the history?
The history of the language or the history of how they made the sounds?
The history of the Chinese alphabet.
I don't know. I don't think I do.
You know, actually, I'm always curious about that. Why? Because we learn we use Chinese, but why the alphabet is very similar with Western alphabet? So do you know why? So I checked that in the internet, and I found that in Ming Dynasty, some Western people bring the Latin alphabet to China, and we use this alphabet to help us to pronounce Chinese.
Wow, that's interesting.
So it's very interesting. So that's why I agree with you. We live in the same planet. Not
Yeah,
one
look at
country.
that. So Bapamuffa is related to the alphabet.
Yes. So you will find this very interesting. Why? We said A B C.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
A B C, but it's the
Right.
same. It's the
But
same
they're-
alphabet.
That's right.
So
But they're related. That's right. Yeah.
That's make me very curious. But no teacher told us that. No teacher told us that.
Right.
And I found that in the internet. I
Yeah.
found it was
But
very
see,
interesting.
and Mike Hawk here was talking about the Wade Giles romanization opinion, right? But it's funny because that's the most common one we use now is the Wade Giles system. But there were like 4 or 5 others that came before that. And it's really interesting because when I was in Taiwan, if you get on and when you drive on the highway and you see the signs on the highway, you'll drive down and you'll see one sign with the city spelled this way, and then 5 miles down the road, you'll see the same city spelled a different way. So, like the city of Taidong in southern Taiwan, sometimes they spell it Taidong. Sometimes they spell it Taitung. Sometimes they spell Taipei as Taipei, or Taipei, which is really the closer pronunciation with a B, right? So, there were a bunch of those systems that they used, and the Wade Giles one is that's the one that they've decided is the closest. But the truth is, even the Wade Giles system is not really that perfect. I think you can't really learn Chinese pronunciation well without hearing Chinese pronunciation. If you just try to read pinyin and only try to learn from reading, you're never going to do it well. But if you hear people pronounce those pinyin words, the pinyin-ized words, then you'll start to understand how that written word is supposed to be pronounced.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the same situation happened in Vietnam. Actually, I worked in Vietnam for almost 2 years, and I learned that the alphabet there is similar like Western alphabet. Many years ago, they just leverage Chinese characters. Use the same language with Chinese.
Right.
Yeah. And just in maybe about 100 or 200 years ago, they reformed their language system and leveraged the Latin alphabet. So, yeah,
and Agnes says it's true with all languages. That is true. It is true with all languages, but there are certain languages where it's a little bit more. The effect is a little bit more pronounced. So Sure,
Yes.
French is really hard to pronounce. Also, when you read French, if you don't study what it's supposed to sound like, then it's really hard to pronounce it correctly. But all of the Romanized languages, I would say that most of the Romanized languages, with the exception of French, they're a little bit more closely related. When you read them, you look at them, if you know the standard pronunciation of those letters in the Latin pronunciation, then you probably will figure it out. Or
Yes.
you'll be close. But
Yes.
certain languages, it's pretty different. Like for example, the X in Chinese is a she sound, right? So,
Yeah.
right. So if you didn't know that when you're reading an X, you're never gonna guess it. You're never gonna guess that, right? So,
Yes, yes.
right. So,
That's-
but again, you're right, Agnes, that all languages are like that. That you have to hear them to truly understand how that works. You know, the pronunciation of them. And French is definitely one of the more difficult ones in that way. That I find French to be very difficult for one main reason: the pronunciation.
Okay. So
Yeah.
do you speak a little French?
A little bit, just a few words,
little bit.
only a few
Okay.
words. But I've always struggled with it because I really feel that French is a language that some languages I think pronunciation is more important than others to be truly accurate. French is one I feel like is pretty important to be pretty accurate. You know, if you're not, then it sounds really off. You know, if I say, you know, merci, 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 merci beaucoup, that sounds really terrible, right? You know, but, oh, merci beaucoup, you know, if you try to put the proper, you know, pronunciation on it, then it's okay. You know, I'm sure you understand me. Of course you understand me. But again, I just think there are some languages that accurate pronunciation is more important than others, right? I still believe my general theory that perfection of accent is not something that you really should focus that much on, that you should focus on clarity. As long as someone can understand what you're saying, no, maybe you don't pronounce it perfectly, but the language is being communicated, right? So English in particular, I think, is a language that you do not have to sound like me. You know,
Yes.
your English is great, Alex. You know, I understand you fine. So I don't see why you need to lose your Chinese accent at all. I don't see the point.
Yeah.
Yes.
It would only
Because
be
I
if I
think
couldn't
really,
understand you.
everyone speak foreign languages is definitely with your mother language here combined together.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And somebody's saying, please tell us how to learn Chinese. Guys, I teach English.
Okay.
Asking me to teach Chinese is a little beyond me.
Okay.
I think that.
I can help you.
Well, you know what? I will say this, Alex, though. I have found, though, many Chinese people try to talk to me and teach me Chinese. Lots of them. Some of them are even Chinese teachers. But to be honest with you, I have found that many Chinese people or Chinese teachers are not very effective at teaching foreigners Chinese.
Yes, that's true.
It's because they're trying to teach us the same way that you learned. That won't work. That won't work.
Yeah.
You have to think about, how am I going to teach this system to a foreigner? Actually, one of my friends in Taiwan, that's actually not she's my student, one of my longtime students from Taiwan, that's what she's going to be studying in college, is how to teach Chinese to foreigners. She's not going to be a Chinese teacher for Chinese students. She's going to be a Chinese student or Chinese teacher for foreign students. And you have to approach it differently, you know?
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think that I can teach Chinese at a basic level, right? At a basic level, I'm sure I could tell somebody how they could get started. Like, my first tip that I tell everybody is the first thing you should learn to learn Chinese is learn how to say the numbers 1 through 10 or 0 through 10 with the proper pronunciation. Right, 1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8、9、10. Right,
Wow.
get the
Good,
get the
very good.
tones right. If you get 1 through 10 really good, then you'll feel like you start to feel comfortable with the tonal system. That's step 1. You know, yeah.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people, foreign people say maybe Chinese is one of the most difficult foreign language to learn.
I
Do you think
agree.
so?
I think so. If you're trying to learn how to read it and write it, then yes, most definitely it is. But if you're only trying to learn how to speak it and listen to it, I don't agree. Chinese grammar is much simpler than English grammar.
the English, right?
Yeah, I love Chinese grammar because all you need to do with Chinese is learn a bunch of vocabulary words. And then you just start putting them together in your mind and you're making sentences. And it's
Yeah.
very simple. It's not so much, so many rules to think about, And even if you get the order of the words wrong, people will still probably understand you.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
the sequence is wrong. We
Right.
still can understand you.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, so Chinese grammar is one of my favorite things about Chinese because it's much, much more basic. And at
But
least
it's very different
at
to
a-
write, right? To remember
yeah,
the
writing
words.
and reading is different. I'm trying to relearn how to write and read. When I was in Taiwan, I learned to write traditional, not, I didn't learn how to write simplified. So now I have to learn again, so here I'll show you.
Traditional is more difficult than simplify, right? Wow. Let me check. Wow, 元气飞 wow.
Yeah,
You did a good job. You read the words very well.
Well, it took a lot of practice,
Yes, 穿都便宜. Wow, good. Very good. Very good. You did.
Right. So, but now I have to learn them all again for simplified.
Yeah.
And yeah, writing and reading are much more difficult. And the truth is, if you're learning Chinese as a foreigner, I don't even know if you need to spend much time with writing anymore. As long as you can type pinyin, who cares? Like, I mean, let's try to imagine how many situations am I going to be in where I need to write something in Chinese? Not many, Most of those situations, I can find some way to type it and it's fine. So if you know pinyin, you can type and you're fine. I can type in pinyin, no problem, So reading and writing that way, not that difficult. But writing by hand, that's a whole lot more difficult. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Chinese children practice the writing is also
All the
difficult
time.
to-
I know.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
I
the
know.
time.
Yeah. That's why I tried so hard to make mine nice because I saw my students, they have, they're, if you ask a Chinese kid, which classes you like and which classes you don't like, almost all of them will say, I hate Chinese class because because they have to do the characters forever so much, Yeah.
Yeah, when they finish their homework, especially for Chinese, they need to write down a lot of words. It's very difficult. It will waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
spend a
And
lot
then
of time.
even more funny is that many times I had friends of mine, Taiwanese friends, who, when they were writing something, they forgot the character. They couldn't remember how to write the character, because there are just too many characters and there's so many strokes. And if you don't practice it all the time, then, you're going to forget too,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So the children always write the wrong word, and the teacher should correct them
Right.
with the red pen.
Yeah, the red pen. Oh, this is so funny, Teacher AS, in America, the red pen doesn't really mean anything serious, right?
Yeah.
But in Taiwan, in China, when I was there,
It's wrong.
the red pen means you're about to, start doing this and writing all over. And it's also considered very bad luck if you write their name with the red pen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's like you're going to die or something,
Yeah.
And so it was so funny because I didn't know
That's
this,
crazy.
and here I am grading papers and I'm writing their name with the red pen, and they're all like, "Oh my God, Teacher Mark, what are you doing?"
Yes, and in our culture, if you write a letter to your friends or other people, that means you want to break up with them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, there are all these.
Serious.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be using red pen anymore.
Yeah, I got rid of all my red pens after that. I just got rid of them completely. I said I can just mark
Yeah.
things without the red pen.
Yeah. So,
No
we
red
always
pen.
use the blue or black pen.
Right. Yeah, that's what I usually use now. Yeah. So anyway,
Interesting.
yeah, that's so funny.
That is really
Okay,
fun.
Mark, I'm so glad to talk about with you and communicate the culture, the history.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you
so
for sharing that. Yeah,
grateful.
I did not know that I when you told me it, when you mentioned, say, and I was like, oh yeah, I did know that. I did know that, but I just I didn't know the history of how it happened. So I'm going to read
Yes.
about that more later.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will come to you later on next time because it's a little bit late.
Yeah,
Maybe
sure.
not-
Yeah, it's very late. So I will
Yes.
see you next time then, Alex. Thank you for coming. Juan,
Thank you, Juan. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Yes, thank you, Mark.
take care,
Bye.
my
Take it
friend.
easy. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, teacher AS, if you want to say good night in Chinese, it's Wan An. Wan An.
晚安，
Yeah.
你太棒了。I know a little bit, all the good phrases. That's what I used to do when I started teaching English. I was just learning all the good words, and if I wanted to appreciate somebody, I was like, okay, how do you say
Right.
you're
Yeah, just
awesome
learn a
or
few
you're
words.
incredible?
That's right. Just
Yeah.
learn a few words
They're
in their
like, "Oh,
language.
you know Turkish, you
Yeah,
know
right.
Japanese,
Yeah.
you know Chinese," and I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
And yeah, Agnes says
Just
red
come
pen in
forward.
France means something to be corrected too. Yeah, I mean that's kind of universal. I think the red pen in general means something to be corrected, but it was just one of those things, Agnes, where I didn't know that I couldn't write their name. Like I was writing everything with a red pen. I had the red pen out, so I'm writing everything with the red pen, and I'm writing their name in the book with the red pen. And all of a sudden, I had all these 9-year-old kids, 8-year-old, 9-year-old kids that were all like standing next to my desk while I wrote their names.
Part of the culture.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
all like in shock that I was, cursing them with the red pen. Yeah. So,
Bad omen.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. But that's how you learn these things. There's no booklet
I'm
that they
not
hand
going
you.
to be using any red pens anymore.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Superstition, man.
indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just listening today. I'm just soaking in and learning a lot. Yeah.
Well, it's always nice to see you, man.
Sometimes I don't even know what to talk about. I'm just listening to the conversation, how you're engaging everybody, and interacting with people.
Well,
and
sometimes
stuff, and
sometimes I'm a lot more directed than today. I'm a bit scattered. I'm just kind of talking, But usually, my English Q&A session, I try to answer as many English questions as I can. So every time I see a question in the chat, I try to knock it out and just go. And I'll try to get a few people on stage to talk with them. But I don't spend too much time usually on this stream with people on stage because it's just not that efficient. That I try to answer more questions from the chat. When I do my Monday streams, a friend in every corner, that's the opposite. I still try to talk to people and answer questions, but I try to get people on stage to actually meet them and talk to them and make connections with them. So
yeah. Yeah, no, you're doing a great job. I'm learning a lot about etymologies and all that stuff.
yeah, like I said, I'm an etymology nerd. You know,
Yeah.
I love that stuff all day long. You know, I'll think of a word and then I'll be like, I wonder where that one comes from, and I'll just search for it and find out. And so I would say just about every day, I probably gain a new historical sense for some word just about every day anymore.
And it's really important to have a context because you can learn a word if you don't have a context. So and it gives you a better
Well,
perspective of
yeah,
how you can recognize the meaning of some of the unfamiliar words by knowing the root of it. So,
right. And again, it's simple for me. It's the neurologists, you know, they've done studies to see like what's the best way to learn, and the best way to learn is what they call overlearning. And overlearning means interacting with the same information as many different ways as you possibly can. So relating to that information in as many ways, engaging with it in as many ways as you can. So if you're learning a new word, you should read the definition. You should write a sentence that's a normal sentence, a common sentence. Then you should write another sentence that's funny and weird, because your brain always remembers funny and weird. Right? I call that the big pink elephant hat theory. If I'm walking down the street and I see you and I'm dressed like this, you probably won't remember me. But if I'm wearing this big pink elephant hat, you're going to be talking about the guy with the big pink elephant hat all day, you know? So when I write...
it's grabbing everybody's attention.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why your brain remembers weird things and funny things. So if you write a sentence with a new word, write one that's normal, right? Like I always use microphone as my example. So I'll say, I bought a new expensive microphone today. Okay, that's a great sentence. It's a normal sentence. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I say, I hit my little brother in the face with my new expensive microphone, now you've created a funny picture in your mind, and your brain is more likely to remember that funny picture.
Yeah, you're
So,
visualizing.
That's
you're
right.
connecting it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then read about the sentence, read about the word, and find out where it comes from, and listen to it being said, and find the roots of it, and all these things. That's when you're looking at one word and trying to figure out how many different ways can I interact with this one word. And some people will say, but that's a lot of work. I'll tell you this. In my experience, it's a lot less work to do this system of engaging with the word in as many ways as you can, rather than memorize and forget and memorize and forget and memorize and forget and memorize and forget. And that's what happens to people. They memorize words and then they forget them, and then they have to memorize it again, and then they forget it again. So I think that the system that I'm doing with finding different ways to engage with the words is more efficient. It does seem like it takes more work, but ultimately it doesn't. And it's more creative.
But not everybody is going to understand the system behind it. You have to explain to them in a way that they will understand how to use it and not forget it, because people are not even focusing on retention. They're focusing on, oh, I'm going to forget. You know,
Right.
oh, I'm going to forget. Well, you're going to retain as well if you know the system. You know, you talk about system a lot.
Mhm.
And if they know the system, then it's going to be really easier for them to not forget, but retain and use it as part of their daily conversational skills
Yeah,
and stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the word retain means. It means to hold back. So it's something you're holding it in your mind. You're able to hold it. It's retention. So yeah, again, the more you can engage with it, the more you'll understand it.
Yeah, that's crazy. You have to mess around with this. You can't like just. So what's the right system? Knowing the origins, and you have a class for that as well. You have like a whole session about it. So what would you suggest to somebody who's like having a hard time using the words that they're learning, and they have to take a note of it, and they do write it down, but still they end up forgetting it? You know, we
Create a
use,
system.
in teaching English, we use learning a word or a phrase in a context so
Mhm.
that we're not going to forget it.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you suggest when it comes to not forgetting the words?
I suggest that you create a system of levels. Meaning, so if you learn a new word, read the definition of it, right? And then read some other words that are related to it. And maybe there's another word that's related to that word, right? And then, so let's talk about reading. How many different ways can you experience that word through reading? You can read the definition of it. You can read a thesaurus and see other words that are related to it. You can
good.
type in example sentences. That's another great way. So you type in the word and type in example sentences into Google, and you'll see a bunch of examples of how that word is used, and read them and see if you understand. So reading, that's one way. Etymology is also reading in that case. It's a little bit more advanced. It's not for everybody. Etymology is not for beginners. Etymology is for intermediate to advanced learners, I think. But then writing. How many ways can you write the sentence or write the word, right? Write it down. If you want to write it like you're memorizing it, writing it 10 times, okay, that's fine. Do that. But then write 10 sentences that use that word. And do five that are normal and 5 that are funny, and weird, right? So that's writing. How many ways can you write with that word? Listening. Can you find somebody who's talking about that word online? Probably you can. There's stuff for everything anymore. So if you type in, the word microphone and, microphone example videos or microphone etymology videos or microphone history videos or whatever, there'll be something that you can listen to about microphones, and you'll hear the word microphone being used many, many times, right? So that's listening. And then speaking. Practice speaking it, saying it. How many ways can you can just try to read the sentences that you wrote out loud.
Right.
Right?
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's about levels. Creating levels of interaction. That's why I like to use the word engage with the words.
Interesting. Really interesting. Sort of like scaffolding.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And levels. Right.
Yeah.
But the point is just I like to think about it more like a diamond. A diamond has many facets. Right? So you need to try to understand the diamond from every facet, not just one angle. That's learning.
The other question that I have is, people complain about their sentence structure all the time, right? How do they fix their problem as
Diagramming.
Okay.
Yeah, diagramming. It's really the best way to understand. I would say diagramming is the first most important thing you should do to work on your sentence structure. There are lots of websites that talk about sentence structure diagramming, and they'll show it to you. And there are lots of free worksheets that you can get online. I probably have a dozen of them in my phone right now. And yeah, if you just do some practice with, which one is the subject and which one is the verb and which one is the adjective and the adverb and the prepositional phrase, and, underline them and circle them and figure out which ones they are, by being able to examine them and understand them, label them, then it makes you understand how they're supposed to be used. That plus reading. Reading. When you read, you're seeing sentence structure in use. And reading can show you how many different ways there are to structure sentences, right? The structure of sentences in a basic children's book is going to be very different than the structure of sentences in a college level, textbook, right? Or Shakespeare, So reading will show you examples of how sentences can be structured. And that's the art of writing. Writing is not a science, it's an art. There are some people who write in this style with this sentence structure, and some people who write with this style and this sentence structure, My writing tends to be very, very, very simplistic when I write. I can write in a very formal way, but I like to call it BSing. Because, when we were in high school, and you had to write a term paper and whatever, and they said, well, minimum, 1,000 words or 10,000 words or whatever. You learn the art of how do I take this simple little sentence and turn it into this really long, convoluted sentence that sounds very,
redundancy.
Right, redundancy. And it's the art of what I call complexification. Everybody
That's a
knows
good
the word simplification, to make things more simple, but there's the opposite, which is to complexify, which means to make things more difficult than they need to really be. But as a teacher, I always try to boil my words down to their simplest form, because that works for everyone, and I don't understand the ego behind language in that regard. When some professors or teachers try to use words that are really big,
they're just trying to show off.
And it's exclusionary. Like you're deliberately trying to make people feel like they need to try harder to understand. Well, I think that's your job, dude. Your job as a teacher is to make them understand in the simplest form. Albert Einstein, if you don't understand, if you can't explain it simply, then maybe you don't really understand. That's what he said. And so, when I write when I'm writing my book, I try to think about that my book is for non-native speakers primarily. So if that's the case, then I need to make sure I write in the simplest manner possible. Because I could write all these things and use a lot of complicated terms and make it more like a thesis paper. But, you have to think of who your audience is.
Exactly. You can't be using all those big words. I feel like that's why I'm so selective when it comes to reading books as well, because I want to make sure the author, the book that I'm reading is making sense to me. I don't want to
me too.
All those unrelated words that are not making any sense.
There are some times when that's what I do. I'll look at a sample of a book, or I'll go to a bookstore and just open it up to the middle and just see. And there are some times when it's clearly obvious that some people are trying way too hard to sound really, really
smart.
Or extremely elite. They're trying to add an academic elitism to what they do, and that's exclusionary, and I don't like that. So
that's why I didn't like the book by Jim Carrey. Sorry.
By Jim Carrey? Oh, really?
Yeah. He wrote a book and he used really big words.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can see that, though, from his point of view, like, as a comedian, coming from that standpoint, probably everybody expects him to write something that's really simple and comedic and whatever. And I think he's trying to be accepted on a different level now. He's trying to be so deep now, and I appreciate that. I do. A lot of the things he says and does, I do agree with on some level. So I can see how his own ego might get caught up in that he thinks he needs to prove himself to people in that way by using big language.
He has proven himself.
To you, maybe, but I think to a lot of people, I think when they expect to get a book from Jim Carrey, they expect it to be, the guy with funny faces and funny laughs and funny, they're not expecting it to be deep. Right.
Not
so,
that guy.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I think it's a different book. It's more like his journey, his struggle, and how he was able to get to the point of, okay, I'm ready to do this, but I was not ready.
Yeah.
And
I used to read a lot of philosophy books. I studied a lot of philosophy. Yeah. And there were some people who I just was like, what are you doing, man? Like Plato. I love Plato because Plato, it was basically a bunch of guys arguing while they're drinking. And it sounded really logical and straightforward almost all the time. It was very logical and straightforward. But on the other hand, Rene Descartes, sometimes it's like, I know they're translations, of course, but still, I feel like there were certain times when philosophy in general is an entire field where they're afraid to not be taken seriously, so they often complexify their language. They make things more difficult than they need to be, because their entire job depends on people thinking that they're really smart and that they have a new angle about looking at something. So they can't just simplify it and make it really easy. They have to make it complicated, you know? History, same thing. History, same thing. There are certain history writers. Bertrand Russell. I love Bertrand Russell. Bertrand tends to write things in a pretty straightforward way. But lots of history books are so convoluted and overly complex, and in a desperate attempt to seem like you're brilliant.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Such an interesting conversation. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm learning a lot today. I'm tired a little bit since I've been awake.
I know.
since
Yeah,
5 in the morning.
you've been awake for a while. Yeah. Let's see. Oxy says, one little question. I need to use what different, as you or like you, if comparing. Interchangeable in many cases. In common English, completely interchangeable. There are some people who say, I'd like to do as you do, or some people who say, I'd like to do like you do. That's the same thing. There is a semantic difference between as and like. Let me find a good explanation of it here.
As you, if not that common.
Yeah,
Then like you.
Like is used to convey similarity, whereas as is communicating a comparison or something that is being done in the same manner as something, right? So like is more similarity. Again, it's kind of semantically different, you know, it's almost the same thing still. But that's the reason why the majority of people, this is one of those words, these two words where nobody really cares or knows. so we use them interchangeably. There is a difference, but it's a grammatically semantic difference that doesn't really make much difference ever. So most people, I can't imagine somebody using the word as or like and me being confused. You know, I can't imagine that. And to me, yeah, they should sound correct. Yeah. I think there will be the occasional exception to the rule, but and I think like is more popular when you're talking about comparisons.
Well, like has been used a lot,
Right.
In almost every single sentence.
Well, yeah, especially
as is like
American.
rarity.
It's an affectation of
Like,
American language. Yeah, it's a filler word. It's one of the most common
It's a
filler
filler
words
word.
in American language. I was going to like the store and like I forgot my wallet and like it was really hot outside and like I couldn't think, where did I put
Like.
my wallet? Like maybe it's in my car and like.
Especially somebody from California living in LA, they speak like that.
Not so much anymore, but definitely in the 1980s and 90s, that was super common. And I think it was almost a fashion. It wasn't even a filler word like by in the traditional sense of filler words. I think it became a fashionable thing, almost like vocal fry. You know what vocal fry is? You know,
I know.
yeah, you know, oh my God, like, I can't believe he's doing that. What is he doing? It's vocal fry, we call that, which that's not a natural way for anybody to speak. Did you ever see that video online? It's great. It's a great video. Type in just a search online on YouTube for vocal fry coffee, and you'll probably find it. And it's I can't remember the actor's name. He's the guy who was in Office Space, the movie Office Space, if you ever saw that one. And he goes into a coffee shop, and the girl who's working at the counter, she says, "Hello, can I help you?" You know, like she's talking with a serious vocal fry, and he goes, "Yes, I would like Cafe Grande," and he's like repeating back to her with the vocal fry, and she says, "Why are you talking like that?" And he says, "Why are you talking like that?" And like, it's really funny. He calls her out for the vocal fry. It's so funny. I love that one. Yeah.
Oh, Loudermilk Talk Like That. That's the one. Oh, okay. I know this one.
Oh, you've seen it? Yeah, it's great. I love that one. Which says he was rude. I don't agree. I think that sometimes I think that's not a bad thing to do. I think he's right. I think that in that environment, it's not appropriate. She's in a hospitality job. You're serving people. Part of serving people is speaking well. That's the way I stand from. And this is coming from somebody who worked in restaurants and cooked and yeah, I believe you have to learn how to speak properly when you're serving people. Mm-hmm. So if you come on, can I take your order? No. And that's the whole point of the video is eventually she got mad and she started yelling at him in her real voice. And
wow.
That's what the point was that no, if you want to talk like that with your friends, no problem. I have no problem. That's fine. Whatever your personal affectations are, that's fine. But it's called code switching. Mm-hmm. Code switching is the psychological term that means that every group of people that you're around, you're going to change your language and behavior based on those people. So when I hang out with my band, I don't talk the way I do here for the most part. It's a little bit more relaxed and loose, and I might drop some, curse words in there and stuff. But and if I'm, when I'm teaching, again, I take on a different personality. I'm more careful with my words. I try to be a teacher, right? So the way you speak personally is fine, but everybody has a way of changing their behavior and their language depending on what audience they're in front of. It's called code switching.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's it's when you refuse to code switch in those environments, then yeah, I think somebody should call you out and say, "What are you doing?" If I was working in a restaurant and somebody came in and I said, yo, what's up? You guys want a table? No, that's weird. That's weird.
Even Russell Peter talks about it. If you go over to a doctor from a hood, how is he going to sound like?
Right. Yeah. Anyway,
yo. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm not denograting anyone's language. I'm not denigrating anyone's language. How you speak is how you speak in person. That's fine. I love the beauty of language in that way, that everybody's got their different methods. But I also think that there is an aspect of psychological behavior that has to be taken into account depending on where you are. And as a performer, this is normal for me, it's just like when I play in different bands. When I play in a rock band, I can't play all the jazz stuff I know because I'm playing rock music. When I play in a jazz band, I can't play all the rock stuff I know because I'm playing jazz music. It wouldn't be appropriate.
Exactly.
It's not that different. Yeah. So
I'm just laughing at the fact that let me try to grab a table for you.
Right.
Well, what kind of table you wanting to have?
Right. Yeah.
Man, it's gonna be really weird if you walk into Olive Garden and you're gonna start talking like that. There's a big argument about Ebonics. Ebonics is a language, and whether it's whether it should be accepted or not in whatever. And I think it should be accepted, but just not everywhere. Right? I think that if you speak like that, that's fine. But I also think that you should learn the dialectical difference between it and what we would call standardized English. And I've read all about the articles about how that's
got a racial component to it that's forcing, you know, the white man's language on everybody. I guess I just look at it like every language has to choose a standard. It has to have some standard, right? And I don't look at language, you know, what I call formalized language. I don't look at that as being racial in any way, shape, or form. Now I know that's easy it's easy for me to say being a white guy, but but
it's funny and it's racist at the same time.
But let's put it this way. Like, again, when I played in lots of different groups, you know, like I can remember when I was in my 20s, my early 20s, I played in a jazz group, and I was the only white dude in the group. And the language was completely different, and it was now up to me to fit in there. Right? And so I didn't push my language on them. I had to adapt to them. Right? And learn. When I first went to school in the inner city when I was a boy, I grew up in the suburbs. And so I grew up, you know, hello, my name is Mark. Nice to meet you. You know, but then I went downtown and suddenly I'm walking down the hall and people are, sup? And I was like, huh?
Sup?
What? You know, what is that? And eventually, you know, 3 weeks later, sup? I'm saying the same thing, you know? So I guess what I'm saying is
it affects you. It
Yeah,
affects your psychology, the way you talk and express yourself. So
right, and I just think that it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's important for everyone to learn the language dialect that's appropriate for where you are. You know? Yeah. So
no, you mentioned about sounding like a white dude. One of my friends from Florida one time called me, and I used to talk differently when I was sort of like young and stuff. And he called me once, probably like after 4 or 5 years, and he goes, "Hey, what's up? Yo, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a long time." And I started talking properly and stuff, and he goes, "Oh, it seems like you're hanging out with a lot of white dudes and stuff." And I just started laughing. I was running in the park, and suddenly I just was on the floor laughing. I'm like, dude, that's racist and funny at the same time.
Right. And I also want to point out that when I try to talk about the greatest speakers of English, the names that come to mind when I think about that are names like Paul Robeson and Sidney Poitier and Martin Luther King and
Barack Obama.
Yeah, Barack Obama, right? Those are all black guys who spoke brilliantly. Now, Barack is a perfect example. He can speak with the most formalized Harvard language you can get, but he also knows how to chill out and speak like a dude, you know, to break it down into more common language, right? He code switches. Absolutely. He code switches depending on what he's doing, right? So I guess what I'm saying is there's the other side of the coin there, that if some African-American people feel that they're being pressed to sound like a white guy, does that mean that anybody who's black isn't, when they speak, you know, like Paul Robeson does that mean he's now being a white dude because he speaks that way? No. Like I said, that's why I think it's a silly argument that I think I told you that Morgan Freeman got a bunch of or not Morgan Freeman, Jimmy Kimmel got in a bunch of trouble.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Because, yeah, he asked Morgan Freeman a simple question about, like, how did you learn to speak so beautifully? But all these people online freaked out on him, like, what are you saying? Like, are you saying black people can't speak beautifully? No, he's saying he's an actor who trained how to speak that way, that he learned that's a fact. Even in lots of interviews, Morgan himself says, I learned proper diction. That's what he was talking about. He wasn't trying to imply that black people can't speak amazingly well, because of course they can. Anyone can. I don't care what color you are. Language doesn't have a race. Language is, you know,
It's just crazy how people are categorizing every individual with their color and race and all of that.
right. Well, like I said, there's a cultural component to any language. There's a cultural component, right? And that's the power of language, right? Language has always had power because the people who speak the best are the people who you listen to, right?
Yeah.
And that's why Martin Luther King knew that. You know, every preacher knows that. Every preacher, to be a preacher, you must be able to speak well and emote people, you know, to motivate them and to make them think, right? So your language is crucial to do that, right? And if I, in Chinese, if I learn Chinese really, really well and I speak in Chinese really well, that will have the same effect as anybody who's native if my words are powerful. So it doesn't matter who's saying them or where they're from. It matters how well they say them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's crazy how people.
I just thought I felt a little bad for Jimmy Kimmel in that scenario because I was like, man, what are you doing? He didn't mean anything by that at all. I know exactly what he meant because I have admired Morgan's voice myself and used him as an example myself. So that was the first thing that occurred to me when he asked that question. Was that's what he's asking about is who taught you this and what theatrical school did you go to where you learned this and what did they teach you? That's what he was talking about. He wasn't trying to imply, you know.
But you think about it, if it would have been somebody else instead of Jimmy Kimmel, then they would have not asked the same question, or they would have not been pointing fingers. Let's say it would have been Kevin Hart, or let's say it would have been Dave Chappelle, or one of those guys. Then they would have not been asking. They would have not been even pointing fingers at them because it is about
right.
color.
That's right. Yeah, that's like you're right about that. I think. Yeah, and Dave Chappelle's a perfect example because you know Dave. He lives in Yellow Springs, Ohio, about an hour away from me, you know, and you know that's he's the minority there for sure, you know, and I'm sure he's spent his whole life. He's talked about it. He's spent his whole life, you know, having to feel like he's in a, you know, he's the oddball out culturally, you know, but his best friend was what's his name, Neil Gaiman, I think his name is Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman.
Yeah. You know, white dude, super white dude, you know. And Dave, you know, he code switches to some degree. He always, you know, keeps it real, as he says, but you know, when he's at an awards ceremony, suddenly he takes on a slightly more serious tone when he's talking, right? Like I saw him giving an award to Jon Stewart not too long ago, and the way he was talking about Jon Stewart was slightly more formalized, you know. Yeah, Kevin Hart I can't really speak about. I don't really pay too much attention to him.
I like Kevin Hart a lot.
I don't know. He's, I guess he's just not my style, not my type. But anyway.
I mean, he has changed a lot as well through the years. It's not the same.
Yeah, I can't really speak to that because I don't really know too much. But yeah.
Who's your favorite comedian?
Or for that matter, what's his name? Chris Rock is another example. Chris Rock, you know, you got change for 100, you know, like from, what was that movie? Oh, I can't remember the name of the movie now. It was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. You know, he played that role for so long, and lots of black actors do. They feel like they're compelled to always play the role of the inner city guy, you know, but he has also...
Oh, you're talking about Beverly Hills Cop.
No, not that one. I'm talking about...
Because he was in that movie as well in the first part, and I was so surprised to see him. I was like, when they parked the tank... Oh, not the tank. Well, what was not the tank? The truck.
I'm going to get you, sucker. I'm gonna get you, sucker. So, yeah, a movie from 1988. Yeah, it was his first movie. It was his first movie, and he's got a tiny little role in that movie.
Yep, a really
Yeah,
small.
yeah, but it was really
role.
funny, really funny role.
I was so surprised to see him. I was like, what?
Yeah. Anyway, so AS, I'm gonna probably have to let you go here because it's getting pretty late, and I need to get to doing some work here. I have a meeting
sir.
in another hour or two, and I also have a lot of emails to reply
Thank
to.
you for hanging out with us.
No, thank you. Before I go, I do want to give one more chance a person to come up if a person wants to come up and ask me some questions really quickly before I go. I'm going to let you go real quickly, but thank you. And yeah, always nice to see you in my room. It makes me feel validated.
Validated. Yeah, you're amazing, man.
So
You're
thank you,
amazing.
thank you.
I've learned a lot from you all the time.
I appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
as do I. Thank you. Take care, my friend.
All
I'll
right.
see you next time.
Take it easy.
Bye. If one more person would like to come up and ask me some questions very quickly before I have to go, that would be fine. If you want to raise your hand, come on the stage and talk to me. If you have a question, that would be good. As do I, see? Yeah. But when I say as do I, that's a slightly more formalized version of just like I do. Okay? So there are certain times when we use certain language because we're deliberately trying to elevate the language to show respect. Okay? Like sometimes people say, when they want to agree with someone, they'll say, yup. But sometimes I say, indeed. Indeed is a formalized version of the word yup, right? And I'm trying to elevate the language to make a stronger point. Sometimes when you formalize language, you elevate the importance of what you're saying. Right, no doubt. I could say yup, I could say no doubt, but no doubt and yup are more common informal language, right? But if I reply with the words, indeed it does, then that's a slightly more elevated form of the language, and it means I'm deliberately trying to agree in a stronger way, because I've deliberately gone out of my way to formalize the language. Okay? Yeah, I would say like is more casual because like is more common. Yeah. All right, let's talk to Afternoon Ali very quickly here. Ali, are you there? I'm almost out of coffee, so it's about time for me to go. Ali, hello, Ali. I invited you, Ali. You have to accept. There he is. Hello, Ali. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for letting me in.
You're welcome.
Actually, this was my first time, so I couldn't know.
No, that's
how
okay.
to-
That's all right. I understand. And you're in Pakistan. Are you in Lahore or Karachi or
Yes, I'm in
Islamabad? Okay, Lahore. Okay.
In Lahore.
Okay, great. And what can I do for you today? How can I help you?
This is my first time. Just look. I was just going through the random streams, and your just came across, and it really sounded interesting. So I just hop into it.
Okay. Yeah.
So, what were you
Today
doing there?
today I
Just
was
to-
having a very, very deep conversation with my teacher friend, Teacher AS, and earlier with my friend Tomas. We were talking about food and history and language and culture and lots of different topics. Usually on this stream, English Q&A session, I usually just people come up and ask me their questions about English grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, listening, reading, writing, speaking, anything like that, and I'll try to help them with their problems. But if you've got a question about something, that's great. If not, we can just chat for a few minutes before I have to go.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to hop into phrasal verbs.
Phrasal verbs.
These days I'm learning phrasal verbs because they are really interesting, and it makes the conversation really interesting.
I agree.
What are your favorite phrasal verbs which you use normally?
Well, I don't really have a favorite with phrasal verbs. I'm looking to see, I think that I have a list. Let me find this for you very quickly. There's a great website. My recommendation for people with phrasal verbs is phrasal verbs are what we call improvised language, which means that how were they created? They were created when somebody just randomly put two words together and kind of gave it a new meaning, right? So pull up, for example, pull up is a phrasal verb. It could mean pull up your shirt, like to lift your shirt, right? But I also could say pull up into the driveway, and that means pull your car closer to the house in the driveway, right? So someone just put words together to create slightly new meanings, sometimes very different new meanings, right? So my recommendation with these is because they're improvised language, it means that there is no real pattern or system or trick to learning them, right? They're not necessarily related by any rules. So that means that they're kind of like idioms. You should just learn them in groups, right? So the best way to learn phrasal verbs is to learn them, like, for example, learn all the phrasal verbs that use the word get. Get in, get on, get through, get over. Learn all the words that have get in them, the phrasal verbs that have get in them, and then learn all the phrasal verbs that have pull in them and all the phrasal verbs that have jump in them. So that way you're learning them in like a family, right?
Yes.
And let me see here. Let me see if I can find this.
What does it mean by let up? The rain is letting up.
Let up? Oh, it means stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I say the
Stop.
rain is letting up, it means it's slowing down and stopping. Yeah. Or if you let up, it means he didn't stop, arguing with you,
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Here's a page here from Grammarly.com that has the 80 most common phrasal verbs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just put it in the chat there. So you can go there and check out that. Here's another one here with 200 phrasal verbs to listen to learn. So that'll get you started. So for example, break. You could say break down. My car broke down. That means it stopped working, right? Or breakdown can have another meaning. If I say, let me break it down for you, that means let me explain it to you. Let me break
So
down.
it depends on the context where you're
Right.
using it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Or to break in means to force entry into a building, right? So he broke into my house means he tried to come in without being invited, right? Or to break into something. He broke into my car. Maybe he broke the window to get into the car, right? Break up, meaning a relationship, usually, right? But it could be, right, or it could be a country. This country broke up into two countries, right? So, for example, Czechoslovakia used to be one country, and they broke up into the Czech Republic and the Slovak Republic.
Does broke up and split up have the same meaning?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But again, split up, yeah, same thing. Could be a relationship, or it could be a formal connection in some way.
What about drifting apart? I think that's
Drifting apart is similar. Drifting apart means that it's like growing apart. It means that you used to be very close to each other. You used to understand each other, and you were like this. But over time, you've drifted apart. Your ideas and their ideas have become separate and different from each other. So now you don't feel like you're as close. You're not as related anymore. You've drifted apart. Drift means to move away slowly, usually just with no extra action. Like you're not pushing yourself away. You're just floating away. Okay.
Correct.
So that's just an example of, some of the ones with break, right? To learn all the ones that have to do with break, and find some example sentences that use them. Yeah.
Yes. The more practice we're going to do, the more we're going to learn.
That's right. Yeah. And phrasal verbs are tricky. They're one of the most tricky parts of English language, especially in common language. Yeah.
Yes.
But they do exist in formal language too. Yeah.
Right.
So, but if you're
Well, thank
doing
you so much.
if you're doing phrasal verbs, that's a pretty advanced level of English. I think phrasal verbs, I don't usually encourage people to learn phrasal verbs in the beginner or intermediate stage. Intermediate, advanced, or advanced, that's usually when I tell students to start learning phrasal verbs more.
I think that's what segregate the native speaker from the non-native speaker. That's what enrich language.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, whenever I heard people speaking more phrasal verbs, they are normally the native people.
Yeah,
hardly
I would
see
agree
any-
with that. Yeah, but the funny thing is most native speakers don't even pay attention to it. They don't even know what phrasal verbs are. Like if you ask them, what's the most common phrasal verbs you learn, you use, they'll say, huh? What? What's a phrasal verb? I don't know. Then if you give them an example like get in, get on, get through, they'll say, oh, okay, I don't know. I don't think about them. I don't, they're
They're just saying it without even thinking about it.
right. They're commonly assimilated language, right? So we hear people use them. These are not things that we study in school. I never studied phrasal verbs in school ever. No, I heard people using them and then I understood, oh, I get it now. They broke up.
Yeah.
That I know what that means now, right? Yeah. So it's just commonly assimilated language.
Is it an idiom? I have got to hand it to you. I've heard so many people.
I've got to hand it to you. Yeah, I'd call that an idiomatic phrase. Yeah, it means I need to give you respect or I need to give you acknowledgement. I've got to hand it to you means that, I've got to hand it to you. Your English is quite good. It means that you've been doing well. I give you respect.
Right. I came across this phrase, this idiom, whenever I watch movies on Netflix. This is one of the idioms I most often hear.
Yeah, there are a lot of them, and again, when you're watching TV, I often tell people what they should do is go online and type in a search for that movie or TV show, the name of it, and then type in the word transcript. Yeah. Every American TV show or movie, you can find a free transcript online. And what that is, it's basically a printout of the subtitles of all everything that's said in that TV show or movie, and you can print it out. And then you can watch it and you can make notes. You can circle the things that you think are valuable or that you don't understand or that words you need to learn. Now you can make watching TV and movies very valuable to your learning process. If you're just watching TV, I'm sorry, say that again.
I said I was asking if transcript was different from subtitles.
No, the transcript is the same as the subtitles, but the difference is if you're watching TV and you have the subtitles on, that's what we call passive learning. Passive learning means you're hoping that you can learn, you're hoping you'll remember. But if you have a transcript and you can make notes, now you've turned that into active learning, where you actually can feel like you're involved in the process of trying to learn something, right?
That's more productive.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So if you're watching TV and movies to learn, that's okay. But if you're doing it in a passive manner, it might not be that effective. But if you get the transcript, you can make it into active learning, and that's much more effective.
True.
Okay?
Right.
Ooh, sorry about that. Okay, so Ali, anything else I can help you with today?
That's all. Thank you so much. For,
You're welcome, my friend.
letting me in.
You're welcome, and you sound great, so keep it up, and I'll see you next time, okay?
Oh, definitely.
All right, take care.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes, the transcript is the movie or TV show written out, all the words and everything that's happening. Is the app Duolingo, does it help to learn English or not? Sure. Yeah, it can. Yeah. Gabrielle, every app that has something about learning is valuable. Some are more valuable than others, but Duolingo is extremely popular for a good reason. Of course, it's valuable. Okay? Guys, it's just about time for me to head out here. But yeah, there it is. So I want to say thank you for everybody coming. Let me give you guys my links one more time. If you want to follow me, go to my link tree right here. If you go to my link tree, go there. Go to that link right there. You can find my website. You can find my YouTube. You can find my podcast, my Facebook, my rock band. Everything is right there. Okay? Ahmed, how to be fluent in English. Ahmed, how can I be fluent in Arabic? If somebody wrote a book about the thing that you're asking about, then you need to find another question. Okay? No one can answer that. No one can answer, how can I be fluent in English? That would take me... They make entire courses about how to become fluent in languages, right? So it takes time and studying and effort. Do I speak Arabic? Only a little bit. A few words. And thank you, Oxy. But again, I'm here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for live streams like this one. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in the evening for voice rooms. Okay, now, I don't get paid for any of this. So, two things. If I'm not here, maybe I'm busy or I need a break. Okay, so don't message me and say, hey, I was expecting you to be online, but you weren't here. Why not? Sometimes people do that. But also, if you appreciate what I do and I'm not being paid here, you could also go to my website and buy a lesson from me. If you think I'm valuable here, you should see me in a private lesson. I'm much better there. Okay? If I can actually talk to you and find out what your problems are, I will develop an entire plan for you to fix all of your problems. Okay, so please go to my website and buy some lessons, okay, that help me to eat. Help me to eat, okay? All right, guys, I'm going to put my new video on again, my closing video. So all of my information is going to be in this video, okay? So if you want to know my streaming schedule, take a screenshot of this video. It's going to be in the video. You'll see my QR code, it's in the video. My stream schedule is in the video. So all of my information is in this video. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for following. Thank you for paying attention and participating. I will see you guys next time. Have a good morning. Have a good evening. Have a good afternoon, wherever you live in the world. And I will see you next time. Shelby, look it up on my profile. It's all in my profile. All right. All right, guys, here's the video. Oh, wait, I got to share my screen first. I almost forgot to do the most important part. Share screen, entire screen, this, and here we go. I'm just about ready. Hold on. Here we go. All right. So once again, guys, thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Share. Great. Okay. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.